Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. This segment is brought to you by the Havana Cigar Club, located in Warwick, Rhode Island. It's a great place to enjoy a drink and a cigar. Stogie Geeks listeners can find a $5 off coupon on our website by clicking the HCC logo. And by M. Bombay Cigars. M. Bombay Cigars represent the most admired cigar culture of Cuba. They select the best of the best quality tobacco to use in the aging process. M. Bombay Cigars are then rolled in Costa Rica by some of the most experienced cigar rollers, giving it a unique smoking experience. The band portrays the detailed and artistic nature of our small industry. Try the M. Bombay Casera, Mora, and a recently released M. Bombay Habano. M. Bombay Cigars, where the cigar is a way of life. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. Back here in studio with myself and Mr. Apollo, who's here with us. We're enjoying fine cigars and rum and all kinds of spirits. It's great. Will's still on the lines via Skype, of course, from North Carolina.
Hey, Dad. So I don't know if folks are able to see it right now. Our latest little enhancement into the studio behind Paul is our new monitor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've got some recent studio upgrades. We did some lighting upgrades. We got a TV behind us now that's displaying our sponsor logos. We've got all kinds of newfangled camera equipment to help us get the right angles in the video. So hopefully that all comes through. If you're listening to the audio version, I strongly encourage people to check out our YouTube and blip.tv channels. You can get to all of those on the Stogie Geeks website at stogiegeeks.com, or if you prefer to read reviews, where you can also find links to the Stogie Geeks, you can go to cigar-coop.com, which recently got a facelift, and I can tell you is looking awesome. So
thanks. I don't think I've thanked the team up in Rhode Island. You, Chris, Steve. I mean that we kept going. We did not have any downtime.
Now, the two things I'm really proud of. How many days in a row have you done a blog post on cigar-coop.com?
We are now looking at about over 1070.
Wow, so we're over 1,000 days. Is that 7 days a week, Will?
7 days a week, no holidays. Original content, which is what we're very proud of. And you know, what we're doing is it's journalism, not journalism. So
yeah.
And when we do news, we're validating news. So there's a little difference. You know, a lot of folks will do news on shows, and I'm not saying that, but our news, we try to validate it to make sure that it is accurate, and if we have get as much information out there as possible. As we get to the trade show, that's what you're going to see from us. And this is going to be, you're going to see a lot of news coming in the next few weeks. This is the busiest time of the year in the cigar business.
The other thing that I'm really proud of is that we've done all this in-house. So, I mean, from design to hosting to the platform, we're doing it all in-house, and I'm really super proud of that, and I think the entire team, it's really been a team effort to get to that point, and we're slowly cutting over all of our other properties to that platform, so I'm super proud of that. I think it's awesome. We've realized the trials and tribulations of relying on other people to do our hosting or design, and we brought it all in-house, which is a huge achievement. So make sure you go to cigar-coop.com, check out our latest web property there with all of the original content. It's awesome. As well as check out our Stogies feed. When you watch this segment and you're like, wow, I wish I had more information about all the Stogies, we actually capture those on the stogiegeeks.com website, and you can find is it over 1,000 now? Have we reached 1,000?
Oh, we're well over that. We're heading towards 1,500 now.
Yeah, 1,500 cigars we've reviewed. Now, some of those are the same.
Insane.
Some of those different people have reviewed the same cigar, or I will review the same cigar twice at different points of aging, but over 1,500 mini cigar reviews on there.
I think that matters a lot because people have different tastes, different palates. So
yes,
any information you can put out there, it helps everyone.
My goal in the new platform is I want to find some of the cigars that people over time have reviewed on the show. So we've had Tim and Mark and Stogie Santa, Will, myself. If we've all reviewed the same cigar, what we thought of it. Because a lot of cigars we've agreed on, and a lot of them we haven't. A lot of them were not so much polar opposites, but some of them don't rate them as highly as others. So,
I think about some of the ones, like some of the Padrones where we've disagreed on. And, I know Year of the Snake was one we were real divided on, I remember. I think that makes it a lot more fun, in a way, when we do have opposite points of view on it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So with that, Will, why don't you take us through your first Stogie of the week?
I revisited an Oliva Serie V Maduro, the Oliva Serie V Maduro Especial, the 2012 edition. So I think if folks know, every year Oliva, they do a Serie B Maduro, and they come out with it once a year. It's a single batch, and they, for the most part, they change the size. They may keep a size 2 years in a row. For the last, I'd say, few years, they've really kind of stabilized the blend. And what I mean is they've kind of settled on a San Andreas Mexican with Nicaraguan binder and fillet. So I think they've been going with that since 2011 right now. The 2012 was a Toro. It was a 6x50. I got to admit, I think the Serie V Maduros, those early ones that came out, which were using some of the other wrappers, like the Nicaraguan wrapper and the broadleaf wrapper, I just haven't really embraced the San Andreas wrapper they've been using the past few years. And I kind of wish they'd go back to some of those other ones. But the 2012 was one that I thought was it was a good cigar. It's a classic San Andreas Maduro. It's going to have notes of mocha, earth, white pepper, a little bit of like a Maduro type cherry sweetness. I found with this cigar, and I hadn't smoked the 2012 in a while. It kind of is one of those cigars. I like the first half better than the second half. I kind of found that these cigars tended to finish up at the end a lot more harsher than I'd prefer. I also find that these cigars tend to draw tighter, the Serie V Maduros.
I found that too. I had that European release that was a torpedo.
Yeah.
And it had to be half that box to Drew. I mean, I gave some to Brenda next door, and she's like, I absolutely love that cigar, the flavor. She's like, I could not get it to draw. She's like, I was putting the draw poker in it, trying to pull leaves out of it to get it to draw. She's like, I really wanted to smoke it because it was so awesome. But they can be challenging sometimes when it comes to a draw. And I wasn't sure if that European release, they did that purposely to have a little bit of a snug draw on some of those. Because it was a European release, and they're used to some Cuban cigars, which can have a kind of a tight draw. I'm kind of reaching there, but I find that, Will, on some of those cigars that they do have a really snug draw.
Yeah, the 13 was like that, and some of them it gives you just enough resistance, and I like some resistance on the draw, but others, the way they've been rolled, I found them to be a little tighter than I prefer. The Oliva Serie V Maduro 2012, I don't think it got much better with age. I don't think it lost anything. It's kind of where it was when I first smoked it. It's about a fiver, I'd say. Particularly if you like San Andreas Maduro, I think you'd like this. But I would say if you like this series, you probably would reach for some of those 2009 and 10s beforehand.
I think it's one of the really fun things about cigars is that, for better or worse, they do change year to year. If you find a good year you like, really savor that thing because it's not going to last. I think it's a good thing.
And manufacturers have gone through different iterations of that, certainly.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in every single line of cigars, but there are certain cigars where a certain year of that particular line of a particular manufacturer is better than another, very similar to wine.
Exactly. That's the thing, too, is you think about wine and in extension tobacco, it's receptive to the weather, the temperature,
Climate changes.
the climate
We've talked about that a lot with cigar manufacturers and blenders that have come on the show. Say the same thing. It's really, really hard to account for the weather. There's lots of tricks, and people have talked about it, like Rocky Patel and others in the industry have come on and taled about some of the little tips and tricks they have for dealing with the different climate changes, soil changes.
You can only do so much.
And you can only do so much, exactly.
I think at the end of the day, if you find a good cigar, savor it, love it, really enjoy it when you can.
Absolutely. I smoked the Nestor Miranda Dano Maduro.
I can't wait to hear about this one.
Have you smoked this one, Will?
I just got it. I mean, I have it. I literally just got it today.
I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but it's the Miami cigar representative, right?
It is. So Dano is the late son. It is named after Danny Miranda, who's the late son of Nestor Miranda.
And they're distributed by Miami Cigars?
They're distributed by Miami Cigars.
Okay.
And if you actually go to episode 125 of Stogie Geeks, we had Jason Wood on, and he broke the news of this cigar on the show.
So, and I can't remember his name, but it's the local Miami cigar representative who's super, super nice guy. I happened to see him in the lounge next door when I was going through, getting coffee or whatever. And he's like, well, Paul, I got some cigars for you, and handed me two of these Danos. One was in the Connecticut shade, and one was in the Maduro. And I'm like, dude, you caught me at a perfect time. I'm like in between cigars right now. I don't have a cigar lit, and I was literally going to light a cigar up to review for the show. And he's like, oh, I got in at the right time. And I'm like, dude, I'm totally going to review this on the show.
That's when you know you're in the cigar lifestyle, when you can say, I'm between cigars.
Between cigars right now, I need something to smoke. And he handed me a cigar. And this is a gigantic cigar. I mean, this is...
Was it a Churchill?
What is it?
It's a 7x56.
7x56. It's a big cigar. And
Damn.
I walked in and I lit it up and I smoked it a little bit. And I walked in here in the studio and Aaron was here and Nick was here. Nick may have been on Aaron, but we were like setting stuff up here in the studio because we got a bunch of new equipment. And I walked in to kind of check up on things. And I'm like, dude, this cigar is gangsta. I'm like, it's a huge cigar. And I said it's got that band on it. It's a big band with red and black in the colors in the band. I'm like, this cigar is gangsta. And I'm like, I tell you what, this cigar is friggin' awesome.
Nice.
This cigar, Will, had so much sweetness. It was such a lot of Maduro cigars get kind of a bad rap, and they tend to be one-dimensional, and they tend to present like either really heavy earth or just a heavy chocolatey kind of earth, which it doesn't necessarily appeal to everyone's palate. This cigar, however, kind of balanced some sweetness with a little bit of that earth and a little bit of cocoa, and was very, very smooth throughout. I love this cigar. I rated it a box split. This is a fantastic offering from Nestor Miranda.
Yeah, and just a correction, it was episode 126 if folks want to go check that out, not 125. Yeah, and that's going to be, they did it in all three blends of the Nestor Miranda collection. So there's a Habano as well as the Connecticut, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And, so apparently this is a limited run for this year. And then according to Jason Wood, they're going to flip it to one of the other limiteds, possibly the Lancero next year. So I've always loved the Danos. I think I actually love the 2012 Dano, which was a Maduro.
So is this a yearly limited release for Nestor Miranda?
It's a limited one, but they're going to change the size next year.
I tell you what, and I don't normally like a cigar that large. This one worked. It worked, dude. It burned at the perfect rate. It didn't take you you didn't feel like you're smoking it forever because it held your attention and had a nice, kind of creamy profile to it. And it held your attention. They did a great job with this one, Will.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm actually really curious to smoke that in the Connecticut.
Yeah, me too. I have one in the Connecticut, and I will review it for the next show. I didn't want to light that one up because it was kind of later on in the day, so I'll light the Connecticut up first thing in the morning and see how it does. Back to you, Will.
I smoked a cigar called the Pope of Greenwich Village. So it's a Drew Estate cigar that was a store release for Smoke Inn, who sent me the cigar. And this is an interesting cigar because when I looked at they're calling this cigar the Pope of Greenwich Village. The blend is as follows, and this is why I'm saying it's interesting. It's a Mexican San Andres wrapper, surprise, Connecticut Stalkbuck Habano binder, and Brazilian Matafina and Nicaraguan filler, and it's a 6x40 Panatella or kind of a short Lancero.
That's interesting. Interesting blend and interesting size.
Well, here's why it's interesting. If you look at that blend, it's exact. The architecture is the exact same architecture as the Undercrown. I don't know if it's the same tobaccos, the same primings, other than that is the Undercrown profile.
Blend, yeah, and they love that stalk cut tobacco at Drew Estate.
They use that as the binder on the Undercrown. So they did a limited run as part of Smoke Inn's micro blend series. So they've done things such as the Tatuai Anarchy is in that series, the Oktoberfest Dunkel. I thought it was a classic. I thought it smoked a lot like an Undercrown. Mm-hmm. It still had its own character because the size was different, but if it was very much in that Undercrown, it had that syrupy espresso that kind of coats the palate. That's kind of something I get off the Underground. You get some of the earthy spices in there. There was a little bit of like a nice chocolate note that happened about midway through the cigar that was really kind of in the middle of that cigar. I thought it really hit well with that. I think if you like Undercrown and you like Norteño, you're going to like this cigar. For me, I did like it. I thought it was great in this Panatella size too, as I think it really smoked well. The burn, I got to say, was exceptional. Razor sharp burn, set it and forget it. I didn't have to relight this cigar hardly at all. It just burned cleanly, which was amazing to me. I gave it a box split. I think it's a cigar. if you're a Drew Estate person, they have a limited run, but they still got these. So they come in bundles. You can instead of boxes, but it's a very good cigar. I'd definitely check it out.
You want to see if I can show you this cigar? You ready for
Yeah.
this, Will?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Okay. See if it's still. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Yep.
There it is. The Pope of Greenwich Village.
Yeah. There you go. Look at that. The wonders of technology.
Nice.
Look
Now,
at that.
I would have loved it if they just. I don't know if it's the same blend or not. I got to find out some more details on that. I mean, if it's the exact same blend, but if it was an Undercrown Panatella, I would have just called it an Undercrown Panatella for what it was.
Right.
They came out with a creative name on it. The other thing I'll say about that cigar, it's not going to break the wallet. I think it's like $8.50. So I think if you're a Drew Estate junkie, you're going to want to get that cigar.
I smoked an interesting cigar, Will. Let me see if I can bring this one up. Here we go. Let me see if I can.
Paul's having a hard time getting it up.
Yeah.
Wait, I think we're looking at Romacraft Neanderthal.
Yeah. So that's I don't know how well you can see that, but that is a Romacraft Neanderthal cigar.
Oof.
And it's I would say a 4.5 by 50, maybe a 5 by 50.
That is that is the Shallow Gene Pool you're smoking.
So the interesting thing about this cigar, and it's tough to see in the picture, I should have got a better picture of it, and the reason I'm kind of confused on the length is because a normal Parejo cigar will have a rounded cap, right? On the head or the head of the cigar, it'll have a rounded cap. This cigar was a Parejo shape, so it was round, but the head was completely flat.
Oh yeah, I mean when you say flat, is pancake flat.
I mean, you could stand it like not cut. You could stand it like this, and it would stand up perfectly straight. The head was completely flat. So the foot is the side that you light. The head is the side that you put in your mouth. So the head completely flat. So it's kind of weird cutting it, right? Because usually you have kind of like a rounded edge that you can just take a slice off of.
Yeah.
This was completely flat. I'd never seen that in a cigar before in my life.
Yeah.
Now, the Neanderthal blend is very, very strong blend.
Oh,
very, very strong tobaccos in this cigar. And let me tell you, this cigar lived up to everything about the brand of Neanderthal and being a strong cigar. I mean, it was strong, but it was smooth at the same time. Very, very flavorful cigar. It had a lot of cigars will be blended to be strong, and it's just like you get overpowered with strength. This one had a lot of great flavor characteristics, a lot of coffee notes, a lot of deep, dark chocolate notes. It was a very, very good cigar. I would call this one a box split as well.
Yeah, it's a 4.5 by 52 that is basically it's a shop exclusive to 2 stores, and you happen to be. I know you happen to be at the event.
Yeah, I happen to be sitting across from Skip Martin, and he handed me this one. So
they bring some of these along to the events. Now I'll say something about that flat cap. You really have to be, like Paul said, you have to kind of. It's not hard to cut it. You just have to realize it's a flat cap. If you have a cigar scissors, it's ideal for this thing. But if not, you want to cut it like I say, a thin piece of deli meat.
Yes, yeah, you gotta have some precision when you cut this cigar.
But it's not hard. I mean, I'll say the other thing I'll say is I smoked one of these 10 months old, and it was still kicking my ass.
I was going to say aging potential in this cigar. I mean, that's one of the reasons that contributed to its rating, is that the aging potential in this cigar was off the charts. I mean, you could set this cigar aside for 2, 3, 5, 10 years. I can't wait to see what this cigar is going to do with age, because it had so much strength and flavor and a great balance of the two that it's like when you age anything else. The stronger wines, like the deeper reds, probably age better. Yeah. Same thing with beer. The stouts tend to age better. Anything that has that kind of strong, bold profile ages better. Same thing with cigars. This cigar is going to age phenomenal. I can't wait to find more.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big hit. I think he's done some. What he's doing is he's using some leaf from Pennsylvania, which is higher in nicotine, and that's how he's keeping the strength in that cigar. So it's not tempering at all. But what I loved about it, I don't like comparing cigar. It's not exactly like the Viaje Daisy Cutter, but it was along those lines.
Along those lines, yeah, especially that size, right?
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Back to you, Will.
This is a cigar I started smoking when we did our Stogie Geek shorts last week. And if you haven't seen it, go check out the website. We actually go into a lot of detail on this cigar. It's the Falto 20th Aniversario Los Procesos.
And you love this cigar, right, Will?
I love this. Was my smoke of the week from last week, but I finished smoking it after we did this Stogie Geek because I was so into this cigar. It's by Luis Falto. It's being made in the DR at La Aurora, and it's a double Corona, 7x50. And we talk a lot about the Falto story, which you could definitely check out in that video. But even more so, the key thing about this cigar is there's some cool tobaccos in there. He's got an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. He's got an HVA and a double binder, an HVA and a Carbonell. And he's got fillers from the Dominican, including a Cuban hybrid seed that they worked on called 2020, and another filler called Negrito Canta, which is Negrito is something that's used in the Caldwell cigars. So there's some really cool tobaccos if you're a Stogie geek. This, and I mentioned it, it's probably the fullest Falto I've had. It gets. I mean, this cigar in the second half really builds up some strength, which I did not expect from a Falto cigar. It's what we talked about with Jack earlier, how this thing progresses with flavor and strength. This is exactly what this is. If you like this cigar, this is exactly what this cigar is going to bring to the table. There's some really great. There's a great sweetness with this cigar. There's some cocoa notes. There's no harshness on a 7x50. It's a double Corona. I mean, it smokes beautiful until the end. It's a 1350 cigar, but I put this as box worthy all the way. And you can get these cigars by calling the Havana Cigar Club at 401-287-4250. They're hard to find. So yeah, they're our sponsor, but they have this cigar. I encourage you to try this cigar. I mean, I stand by it. If I'm wrong, you let me know.
So if I can ask a really stupid question, how good is Perique? How good is Perique?
Is that tobacco liqueur?
Yeah.
I don't think I've tried it yet.
Well, again,
I might have made the smoking hot Acidorians with them.
You did.
I thought you did.
Yeah, and it's tough to tell when you make that cocktail because the fire cider really kind of overpowers that cocktail. So I didn't really notice too many differences between the tequila tobacco liqueur that you found, which you can't find anywhere. I don't know what's up, but that one was like a weird one. It was a weird one, right? But the Perique is one you can find more readily available.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the actual Perique tobacco. Apparently, it's blended with a few really good high tobaccos. I've been just researching a little bit.
Yeah.
Have you guys really seen that anywhere?
I haven't, no. Have you, Will?
I have not. I mean, I had to do some research and find out.
I'd love to learn more about that sometime.
Absolutely. So I smoked an interesting one. This is another one from Romacraft. You're going to see a lot of Romacraft on my list this week because I got a chance to sit down with Skip Martin on Saturday at an event he had at Mr. J's Havana Smoke Shop, which was great. I picked up a bunch of Romacraft cigars, and this one is really awesome. It's the Romacraft Tobacco Craft 2013 La Campagna de Panama Soberana. Did I get that right, Will?
Cool. Yep.
And it looks it's a strange shape. It's very strange.
Well, here's the thing about that cigar. No mold. They make that whole thing by hand. There is no mold used on that cigar.
Interesting.
It is true handmade.
And it's got the bands of almost like a Connecticut shade at the end. Yep. I don't know if you can see that in the picture that I have up here. But at the foot of the cigar, there's different bands of Connecticut tobacco. And it almost is like I don't know, I'll call it like a trumpet kind of size. It basically tapers down, almost like a pyramid Padron without the box press. And it's a great smoking cigar, Will. I mean, this is one, I had one like sitting around the campfire. I mean, it's just a great cigar. It's got some strength to it. It's got some great flavors. It burns. Skip was kind of like, well, because of the size, he's like, you may have to do some touch-ups because of the burn. He was kind of like apologetic about it. I didn't find that in the two that I smoked. I thought they both smoked great. Fantastic flavor. These are great. I would call this one a 5-er. Great flavors on this one. Fun cigar to smoke. The cellophane that it comes in is open on both the foot and the head of the cigar. So
You
the
slide it right off.
Yeah, you can just slide it right off, and there's actually a piece of tape that holds it on. So it's kind of interesting packaging on this one.
Yeah, I had a early on work the burn of that cigar when it has those like rings, the tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got past that initial part, and it's covered foot, so
It is a
once you
covered
get-
foot, yeah,
Yeah.
closed foot.
Once I got past it, the burn was fine. But yeah, I did have to work that burn a little at the beginning. But like I said, that is a true handmade product.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth checking out. They're a little pricier than some of the Roma crafts, but like I said, it's true handmade. It's just true limited edition.
Yeah.
So
If you're a cigar geek, like I said, having 5 of these in your humidor you definitely want to do that.
it's a no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll be happy. Back to you, Will.
So I actually got my hands on a La Aurora this week.
Nice. Yeah, that's hard to find. We talk about this. La Aurora is one of those brands. I can walk next door and get pretty much any La Aurora branded cigar that I want. Now, Will, where he is geographically, he can't find them anywhere. So we frequently send him La Aurora cigars so we can smoke them and review them on the show.
You got to get a really good network of pushers.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's kind of it's just certain cigars take off in certain markets better than others.
Yep.
But I smoked the new Puro Vintage, the 2006. So La Aurora.
When did this come out, Will?
Just came out. It's just.
So this is the new, because they have one that looks exactly the same, but it's last year's.
It's So
Okay.
yep, this is the 111 Anniversario.
Oh, the one that I have in my humidor is the 110.
Yeah, that's the Puro Vintage 2005.
Yeah, I have a couple of those kicking around. Okay, so I'm curious. So what is the new one like?
The new one is a 6.5 by 60 Salomon. And it is so what they do is all the tobaccos are basically harvested from 2006, which is why it's called Pure Vintage 2006. Like the 5, they're all from 5, but they change the blend every time. This has an Ecuadorian Havana wrapper, Brazilian binder, and a mix of Nicaraguan, Brazilian, and Dominican fillers. La Aurora's got a lot of tobacco. I mean,
They do.
They really, really do. That being said, what I'll say is this is probably the best Puro Vintage since that original 2003. Which, I don't know if anyone's ever going to top. I don't know if they'll ever top that 2003.
And I've smoked that recently, and I think I reviewed it on the last show, the show before it. Oh, that thing is smoking amazing right now.
Yeah. And that's just one of those cigars that comes along. It's just probably always going to be the bar. This is a very good cigar, though. There's a lot of complexity with this cigar. The spices, there's a lot of different spices. There's like a little bit of pepper, a little bit of baker's spice, a little bit of like Asian type of spice in there.
Wow, baker spice and Asian spice, Will.
Yeah, so the spice, you get a lot
I love
of these
the baker spice. He always
little sweetness. Yeah, there's a little
awesome.
sweetness. Yeah. It's got some nice coffee flavors along the way with it. A little chocolate. So flavor-wise, I love this cigar. Burn-wise, it kind of was one of those cigars that sometimes I just don't have the patience sometimes to smoke a Salomon. It did need a little work, this burn. It was a meandering burn. It needed more touch-ups than I prefer, but it could be that, this cigar was transported and new, but I don't think so. I think it's just sometimes Salomons are more work than are required. I don't think it was me either. I did smoke 2 of these, but love the cigar. I could get past that. There's more pluses than minuses. This is another box split. I definitely think this is, like I said, the best of the Puro Vintages since that 2003. So this was a good week for cigars, and this one was right up there.
Nice. I smoked another Roma Craft, a couple of knuckle draggers. It's my favorite size, right? It's like a short Robusto.
I think that's Skip's favorite size, too, and I could be wrong.
It's really awesome. I don't know what it is about this size. I love the short Robusto size. I gravitate towards it. I smoked it in both the Aquitaine and Cro-Magnon series of cigars. And, I can't figure out which one that I like more. They're just such easy smoking cigars. They're both very smooth. I want to say the Aquitaine is a little stronger than the Cro-Magnon, even though, to go back to what Apollo was saying, this is a perfect example, Apollo. The cigar with less strength has a darker wrapper. in this particular blend.
Because there's a Ligero wrapper on that
Aquitaine.
So that's a higher priming,
Yes,
which is going to have
it's
more.
going to have more kick to it.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, well, they're both awesome. And I want to smoke more of these and really kind of pick out the flavors, but I really just enjoyed smoking both these blends, and I rated it a box split, and really I'd love to have, it's one of those situations where I'd love to be able to buy a box of like 10 and 10. Like if these came 20 in a box and I could get 10 Aquitaines and 10 Cro-Magnons, because I'd smoke the Aquitaines later on in the day, I'd smoke the Cro-Magnons earlier in the day because they're a little lighter. But they both have a wonderful flavor profile. It's a perfect size. This short Robusto is just awesome. So I highly recommend people seek those out.
I agree. I definitely agree. They're good cigars.
Back to you, Will.
I smoked another one from the Abo Greatest Hits sampler, almost at the end of it. I smoked the Abo 22, the limited edition 2002, which a plug for next week. We have Scott Colasera from Abo Cigars going to be on.
Nice.
So I'm really looking forward to that. So this is a cigar that I had not smoked before. So I have not smoked the original Abo 22. But this one is there were very high expectations with this cigar in terms of it's considered one of the best of the La Aurora. I mean, sorry, La Aurora, the Abos. And I don't know if maybe my expectations were through the roof on this one. It was a very good cigar, but it wasn't. I mean, it probably wasn't in my top 5 of this series. It's a Perfecto. It's unbanded. They actually did. This is the only Abo Limited where they did 2 sizes. They did a 5 7/8 by 50 for the U.S. market, and they did a 5 7/8 by 43 for Europe. And it's the U.S. one that's included in there. This had a very interesting flavor. It was very unique, I'll say that. It had this like cedar notes. It had almost this musty quality to it. And I don't want to put that in a negative. It actually kind of, in a way, worked in favor of the cigar a bit. And then there was kind of some really unique sweetness notes I was getting off that cedar. There was a lot of creamy notes off this cigar. It's another one of those cigars that it builds up as the cigar goes along. It was a medium to full-bodied cigar, so it wasn't a milder cigar by any means. I put it as, like I said, I don't think it's, I don't know if this is the original blend, if it was reconstructed. I doubt this was an aged cigar from 2002, excuse me. But I put it as a box split. I think there's other Abos, based on what I'm smoking in that sampler, that I'd reach for first. I can't compare it to the original. But I was going back to when you smoked it, Paul, and I don't think we were far off in saying, I don't think there are other Abos you liked better in this sampler.
Yeah, I rated this one a little higher than you did, Will. I rated this a box worthy. I really liked this cigar. I thought
it's a good cigar. It's a good cigar.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find a cigar as unique as this one.
That's important. It is unique. Yeah. But maybe it's not for me.
And I didn't find it as full as you did. I found it to be a little on the milder side. And I just thought this cigar was fantastic.
Yeah, I had a little bit of burn issues with it too. Very loose ash I had on this cigar. But I don't think it was a Paul syndrome. Again, maybe Figurados and me sometimes don't mesh well.
Right. I smoked a My Father Connecticut Short Bellicoso. And this is the first one that I've smoked out of the box set that I bought that came with the ashtray that I talked about. And one of the reasons why I bought the box set is because it came with this My Father Connecticut. And My Father makes very interesting Connecticut's. They're very spicy, and they have a peppery note, yet they're milder cigars. So it's interesting how they blend the flavors. Like with Apollo and I, we talk a lot about flavors and cocktails and wine and beer and all this stuff. This cigar is interesting because of the way it melds these different flavors and characteristics together. Connecticut, you typically think of like a smooth and creamy and really mild cigar. My Father takes that to a whole other level, and they build in a lot of spice and a lot of pepper, but they also balance that with a lot of like milder flavors in a smooth and creamy note.
I'm really curious about that now.
Yeah, and this cigar had it. Now, for me, I think that this cigar needs to age a little more. I thought the spice and pepper notes kind of overpowered the cigar. and kind of took away from those other flavor notes that you would typically get. So, having said that, it was a good cigar. I would call it a 5-er. I would definitely put these down for some age, and you typically don't age Connecticut cigars. This is one I think you could age. I think it would take down that spice and pepper notes and really let some of those smoother flavors and sweeter flavors come through.
Spot on. I
Have you smoked this one, Will? Have you got this box set yet?
I've not smoked that size, but I've smoked that blend, and that has been my feeling with this blend. However, I keep saying that, and I have not yet seen it do that. So
yeah, because the spice and pepper is really kind of over the top in this blend, right?
It definitely is going to be over the top for Connecticut. It's not going to be a nicotine bomb, but there's there's probably more spice on a Connecticut than you're used to.
Yeah, it really wakes your senses up in the morning. I lit this up and I was like, wow, like it really lets you know you're smoking a cigar. Nice. So that's my favorite time to smoke a cigar. It's first thing in the morning. Hands down. Hands down.
I haven't quite at that
People
point.
think I'm crazy, dude. I'll be in line at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, and there's like smoke billowing out of my car, and people are just looking, or I'm at a red light, and people are just looking like, what is going? It's my favorite time to smoke a cigar.
It's
dude.
a lifestyle at this point.
Yeah.
I just I get it's a 10-minute drive to work, but I'm like I gotta have a cigar lit up first thing in the morning. And people looking like I'm completely nuts, too. It's really funny.
I mean, the thing is, too, you look back in history, in the 1800s, that's what you did every day.
Yeah.
That's how you started your day off.
I think it's great.
Yep.
Yeah. Paul, did you skip a cigar?
I don't know. Did I? I might have.
The New World?
Oh, speaking
I really
of no.
I want to hear about that one. That's why.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Will.
Yeah.
So, the New World, this was a great cigar. I was a lot of anticipation with me smoking this cigar. This is the AJ Fernandez New World Connecticut. And as I was just saying, I love to smoke cigars in the morning. And AJ came out with this New World blend in the Connecticut, and I like the New World blend. And AJ's great supporters of the show. This cigar, well, in the first third, I mean, this cigar is amazing. It's everything that a Connecticut should be in the first third. It's smooth. It's creamy. It has that like little touch of spice to kind of let you know it's there. Very well balanced. I thought the last 2/3 were just okay. I think that age will certainly bring those final 2/3 into their own. I think the whole thing will end up being as smooth and creamy as that. For me, it kind of lost a little in those second 2/3, but the first third was so good that I rated it a box split because it was just amazing in this first third. It really, really commands your attention, but I think it still has a little bit of time and age. And these are really new cigars, Will. In fact, the one you sent me is probably, I mean, they haven't even hit a lot of the shelves in the retailers yet. So
yeah, and I smoked, the one I smoked, I think I got more of that creaminess throughout it. But again, I only sent you, we had a limited amount of those. So
right.
But I thought it was a very different cigar in AJ's portfolio.
Absolutely.
He doesn't have he has other Connecticut's, but not one like that.
No.
It's a milder cigar. It's dialed back. I really think there's a lot of potential with this cigar. They're going to sell a lot of them.
Yeah, and I think with a little bit of age, my rating's going to go up because I'm certainly going to smoke more of these. I only smoked one for the review, which oftentimes doesn't do a cigar justice when you just smoke one. So
no, I was so anxious for you to get that cigar too. So it went through a couple of shippings, is what happened.
Yeah, and I'm sure this is available in different sizes too. So a lot of times it's just a matter of me finding the right size. What size did you send me? Is that a Toro?
I think it's the Toro. Yeah, I smoked the Toro as they sent.
The Toro in the Connecticut's usually a pretty good size, so I'll be smoking more of these and reporting back on the show. My initial findings are it's a really good cigar in that first third, and I think with that little bit of age, I think it's really going to come into its own.
Yep.
Back to you, Will.
I'm done.
You're done.
I'm done.
So I smoked a couple more that I wanted to talk about. Really just one more from La Aurora, ironically enough. And I went back and I smoked that short Robusto. This is almost like a 58 or 60 ring short Robusto. Really large ring gauge, but a really short cigar with a Cameroon wrapper. It's one of those weird combinations. Like I challenge you to find a Cameroon wrap cigar in this size. And this is kind of their like more reasonably priced Connecticut wrap cigar or Cameroon wrap cigar. We did a whole segment on Cameroon wrappers. It comes from Africa.
I'm still
super
learning.
hard. Yeah, super hard to source. Very, very thin and fragile, but has a super, super sweet flavor to it. And And this cigar was really good, Will. I mean, I liked it. This is a cigar that it got better as it smoked. Like when I first lit it up, I'm like, I don't know if it needs age or like there's something not right. And then as I smoked it more and more, it just kept getting better and better and better. And I smoked it right down to the nub on this cigar. And I'm like, it really kind of builds that crescendo of flavors. And it was a really good cigar. This is becoming, Will, in the La Aurora regular Cameroon line, this is becoming my favorite size. And it's a large ring gauge cigar, which it doesn't make any sense to me, but this seems to be my go-to size in the cigar.
It can work. It can work. You know, and I'm looking at that. That's like that is, yeah. I mean, it can
it's
work
like almost a
blend.
60 ring in that little short. I wish
Yeah, I was looking at.
I didn't have time to research exactly what the size was on this one, but really cool size.
I would just ask, was it long enough?
Well, it's interesting. It burns slow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it lasted a long time because of just the way that it was constructed. It's kind of like the nub cigar from Oliva, which are really short cigars but really large ring gauge. This is kind of in that family. But it burns kind of slow because there's just so much tobacco to burn in the larger ring gauge. Really, really cool cigar to smoke.
That's awesome.
Saying it's a 54, a 4x54, it seems like it's awful thin.
No, I would say it's more than that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But it's a great line to check out from La Aurora because you get that Cameroon wrapper at a more reasonable price than some of their other Cameroon wrap cigars, which is really nice because Cameroon wrap cigars tend to be a little pricier.
Yep.
I do want to review the Rocky Patel Cameroon, Will.
The Decade or he has a couple.
Yeah. What was the one we talked about? Was it the Edge Cameroon?
He's got the Decade Cameroon and he's got the Vintage 2003 Cameroon.
Vintage 2003 Cameroon.
That is an awesome cigar, and if you can find the box presses that Rocky talked about.
Yeah.
They needed a little time when the box presses came out, but Rocky talked about how when you box press a cigar, it changes it, and it changes it.
You know what I'm finding, and we did that segment on Cameroon wrappers, and we got a ton of awesome feedback on it.
Thank you. Yes.
I think, Will, you're hard pressed to find a Cameroon cigar that you don't like. I mean, really, to speak to when you go into cigar shops, Apollo, and you're looking for stuff to try.
Yeah.
Ask the retailer, what do you have with the Cameroon wrapper on it? You're hard pressed to find one that you don't like. Really, I've never had a Cameroon cigar that I can say I really didn't like or wasn't in my wheelhouse. Like they're always really, really good.
Nice.
Yeah, Perdomo came out with their Cameroon about 4 years ago called the Reserve Limited Edition. It's a Petite Corona. And I still think it's the best Perdomo that came out to date. It is if you could find them, he did a limited run of those Cameroons. Fantastic smoke. Would have a silver band on them if you ever look at them.
No, that's good advice. That's good Stogie Geeks material right there.
Yep.
The thing is, I love doing the Petite Coronas because, again, it's a really good way to kind of try out the blend.
Yeah.
And you get the Cameroon wrapper, especially with that small ring gauge.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you get more of the wrapper flavor in the smaller ring gauges. Corona-sized cigars in general are used by rollers and blenders to taste, or blenders rather, to taste what the cigar is going to taste like.
Okay.
That's really the size. So typically when I'm sampling a blend, I'll try the smaller ring gauges in like the Corona size to get. Now, what I found though, Will, over time, is that the Corona and Petite Corona sizes tend to be stronger and bolder than their larger ring gauge. So like a Toro will be a little more kind of amped down. So sometimes it's preference. And the shining example of that is Elohio makes the LSV and the Habano. And in their Corona sizes, it's like a totally different cigar than their Churchill or Toro or Robusto sizes. Completely different cigar.
I get the impression it kind of has to be just given the size differences.
Yeah, well, because we talk about it on the show, especially with people who blend cigars, that when you take something that's a 60 ring gauge, and then you're going to take that same blend and you're going to put it in a 38 ring gauge Lancero, you have to make decisions as to which fillers you're going to take out and what proportions of those fillers are going to be in each size. So you almost have to reblend the entire cigar to get it in those different sizes. And the cigars that are the best reblend those sizes. That's why in certain lines, Will and I will have our different different cigars in a certain size that we like the best, because that tweaking of filler changes the flavor profile. It's really
That's
interesting.
awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of times we'll review cigars, and we may give it a fiver or a box worthy or a box split or fight Chuck Norris, and and sometimes the different sizes in a blend will like go through the spectrum of the different ratings. It's just because whatever the ratio of filler, different filler tobaccos were to the wrapper, it just hit our flavor profile, and that's what we're looking for in that cigar. So
That's awesome.
It's kind of a interesting thing. I mean, that's why we talk about how there's 1,500 cigars we review. That's why. I don't have the prize box with us. It's next
here's
door.
what
You have some prizes to give away.
I
though,
have
Will.
a prize pack this week, yes. So the folks at Ventura Cigars have a nice little prize pack. So what you get is you get a coffin. Let me see. Can you guys see that on the camera? And in the coffin is a nice Bovita humidification pack.
There you go.
And 2 Psycho 7 Maduros in a nice little coffin with that Bovita pack. They also have given us a nice lighter. And this is a very heavy-duty lighter. This is not a cheap plastic lighter. On this lighter is a nice little punch for your cigar. And then there is a nice little, there's a cutter they sent as well. So that prize pack will go to one lucky listener and a T-shirt. So
Smoke Naked T-shirt.
I'll get this up to you. If you could, I don't have a question.
I don't have a question either.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why don't we give it?
Again, amateur question is how does a full cut versus a punch affect the flavor?
That's an interesting one, Will. We should almost pose that as the contest question.
That's a good one. You email us that.
Email us that.
Email us that.
The show at StogieGeeks.com. Send us an email.
I'm not going to say there's a right or wrong answer.
No,
but
we'll pick an answer that we like because there is no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
But what's the difference, in your opinion, between a punch and a straight cut on a cigar?
I
Great
like that.
question.
And you get, like I said, you'll get the prize pack from Ventura. Thank you to Ventura. Plus a Stogie Smoke Naked T-shirt.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. Is usually our contests are first come, first served. The first person with the correct answer wins. This one is subjective, so we will, Will and I will put our heads together and we'll pick out what we think is the best answer.
Nice.
Yep.
And we'll send that person the prize pack.
Yep. No,
So
that's great.
time doesn't matter on this one. We'll let this one go. We're going to let the live stream answer. We're going to let people who watch the video answer. We're going to let the people listen to the audio answer. Collect all our answers, and next week we'll announce the winner.
Yep.
Excellent. And next week we'll have a lot more cigars to give away, so make sure you stay tuned to the Stogie Geeks. That's this episode. Yep. We'll see everyone next week where we have a representative from Avo Cigars, which I've got the Avo cigar in my humidor. I'm very anxious to smoke it. I've had to control myself and not smoke it before then, so make sure you tune in next week. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks to our special guest, Apollo, for coming on, making
Apollo.
some cocktails,
Good to meet you guys.
talking about Cuban
Again.
rum. Thanks, Will. We'll see everyone next week on the
All
Stogie
right.
Geek Show.